The Young and the Restless Spoilers Shock, The Deceitful Web of Cole, Victoria, and Claire, a heart-wrenching betrayal. The story of Cole and Victoria has been one fraught with love, deception, and ultimately, betrayal. What started as a relationship grounded in trust and deep emotion has spiraled into a dark, twisted tale of lies and manipulation. As Victoria poured her heart and soul into her love for Cole, believing that they would be together forever, the reality that unfolded before her eyes was far from the happy ending she had dreamed of. Instead, she was met with the most painful betrayal imaginable. For weeks, Cole had convinced Victoria that he was fighting a deadly battle with cancer, a tragic diagnosis that struck both him and Victoria to the core. Her love for him deepened as she watched him struggle, and she became determined to help him fight. She sought out the best treatments, consulted with doctors, and even made plans for the future, all in the hope that they could beat the odds together. But little did she know, everything was a lie. The heartbreak came when Victoria, in her desperate attempt to save the man she loved, uncovered the truth. Cole had never been sick at all. There had been no cancer diagnosis, no looming death hanging over them. Instead, it was all part of a carefully constructed ruse, a plan designed to manipulate Victoria into doing exactly what he wanted. His motives were unclear at first, but as the layers of his deception unraveled, it became evident that Cole was planning something far darker. A life built on lies. The truth about Cole's deception. Cole's entire scheme had been meticulously planned from the start. He had no intention of living a full life with Victoria. Instead, he had designed a perfect escape, intending to disappear without a trace, leaving Victoria and everyone else in Genoa to wonder what had happened to him. His intention was clear: he wanted to leave his past behind and start over somewhere far away, under a new identity, where no one would ever find him. What's even more shocking is that Claire, the seemingly innocent bystander in this entire saga, had been complicit in Cole's deception from the very beginning. She wasn't just a passive observer, she was actively involved in helping him orchestrate his disappearance. The two of them had planned their escape carefully, and it seemed as if nothing would stop them from vanishing into thin air. But as the truth began to surface, Victoria was left reeling from the betrayal, not just from Cole, but from Claire as well. Claire, who had once appeared to be a friend, a confidant, and even a protector for Victoria, revealed her true colors in the most devastating way. As Cole's plan came to light, it became clear that Claire wasn't just a bystander, she was in on the entire ruse. While Victoria had been pouring her heart into a relationship that she thought was genuine, Claire had been silently waiting for the moment when Cole would leave, ready to enjoy the fruits of her partnership with him. The idea that Claire would continue living a life of luxury, knowing the pain she had caused Victoria, was nothing short of cruel. Victoria's heartbreaking realization, the ultimate betrayal. The pain that Victoria felt upon discovering Cole's betrayal was unimaginable. For her, it wasn't just the loss of a partner, it was the loss of everything she had invested in, emotionally and mentally. She had sacrificed so much, trying to build a future with Cole, believing that his fight against cancer was their battle to win together. The small, intimate wedding she had planned, one that was meant to be a celebration of their love, was now nothing more than a cruel joke. The idea of getting married with only the two of them and Claire as witnesses. What was meant to be a symbol of their union, was now tainted by the truth. Victoria had put all her hope and energy into that one moment, thinking that it would be the start of a new chapter in their lives. She envisioned a future filled with happiness, with Cole by her side, supporting her as they navigated the ups and downs of life together. But in reality, the only thing she was going to receive was the final act of a masterful deception. She was nothing more than a pawn in Cole's game, a mere stepping stone in his grand escape plan. When the truth finally dawned on Victoria, it hit her with the full force of a hurricane. The man she had loved, trusted, and cared for had never seen her as anything more than a means to an end. She wasn't his partner, she was just a part of his elaborate lie, a role he needed her to play so that he could disappear without any questions. The betrayal was not just emotional. It was a complete rupture of the trust that Victoria had built her entire relationship on. Cole and Claire's new life, a grim future for Victoria. As for Cole and Claire, their future was sealed. They were already preparing for a new life in an undisclosed city, far away from the prying eyes of Genoa City. Their plan was flawless until it wasn't. The betrayal had been carefully orchestrated, and the escape was meant to be clean. But Victoria's discovery of their deception threw a wrench into their perfect plan. Now, instead of quietly slipping away, Cole and Claire would have to deal with the consequences of their actions, even if they had managed to get away scot-free. For Victoria, the aftermath was a slow and painful process of healing. She had lost not just the man she loved but also her sense of self-worth. The idea that Claire, someone she considered a friend, would turn out to be an accomplice in such a heartless plan was something Victoria could barely comprehend. Claire, with her seemingly innocent exterior, had been living a double life, one that included betraying the woman who had welcomed her with open arms. The idea that Claire would continue to enjoy the riches and comforts of a life built on lies was something Victoria could never reconcile. The consequences of betrayal. A shattered life. Victoria's world had shattered into pieces. Every plan she had made for the future with Cole now seemed like a distant memory, a cruel fantasy that would never come to fruition. The small wedding, the future they were supposed to have, the life she had dreamed of, none of it was real. The heartbreak was suffocating, and Victoria was left to pick up the pieces of her broken heart. But as the dust settles, one thing becomes clear. Victoria will never forget the betrayal, and she will never allow herself to be so vulnerable again. The journey ahead for her will be one of self-discovery and rebuilding, but it will be a long road. She has learned, perhaps the hardest way possible, that love can be a weapon and that trust is not easily given or earned. As for Cole and Claire, they may have gotten away with their deceit, but the consequences of their actions will follow them. What they don't realize is that betrayal always catches up with those who commit it. In the end, no one can escape the repercussions of their choices forever. The lies they told and the pain they caused will eventually come back to haunt them, no matter how far they run. For now, Victoria's story is one of healing and strength. She will rise from the ashes of betrayal, but the scars will remain, proof of the price she paid for trusting the wrong people. And while she may never forget the pain, she will find a way to move on, stronger and wiser than before. The unraveling of lies. Victoria's confrontation with Cole and Claire. Victoria stood frozen in the middle of the room, her heart racing as her hands trembled with disbelief. The test results were still clenched in her hand, and her mind was struggling to comprehend what she was seeing. She had spent so much time, so much effort, believing in Cole, in the future they would share, in the hope that they could conquer anything together. But this was beyond anything she could have imagined. The truth hit her like a ton of bricks. Without warning, she hurled the paper across the room, her voice trembling with rage. "Why did you lie to me, Cole?" she screamed, the rawness of her pain reverberating in every word. "What did I do wrong? Why are you treating me like this? What kind of person are you?" Her words sliced through the air, cutting deep into the fabric of the illusion she had clung to for so long. Victoria's chest heaved as she tried to control the storm of emotions raging inside her, but it was impossible. The hurt was overwhelming, suffocating her with every breath she took. She had given everything to him, had put all her trust and faith in their future, only to have it all shattered in an instant. The betrayal, the lies. It was too much for her to bear. Cole, looking more ashamed than ever, tried to step forward, his voice strained as he began to explain. "Victoria, please, let me explain." It wasn't, but Victoria wasn't listening. She interrupted him, her voice growing louder with each passing second. "Don't you dare explain. Don't you dare tell me any more lies. I've had enough." Her eyes turned toward Claire, who was standing there, her face full of guilt and regret. "And you," Victoria spat, her voice venomous, "you're just as guilty. You're a liar, just like him. You're both the same, using me, manipulating me, and playing with my emotions like they don't mean a damn thing." Cole and Claire exchanged a glance, both of them struggling to find the right words, to make her understand, to make her see that they had their reasons. But every attempt to explain only seemed to make things worse. The more they spoke, the more Victoria's anger intensified. She couldn't hear them anymore. All she could hear was the pounding of her own heart, the sound of the life they had built collapsing around her. "Please, Victoria, let us explain," Claire pleaded, her voice breaking with emotion. "It's not what you think. We never wanted to hurt you," but Victoria's eyes burned with fury as she took a step back, her hands trembling. "No. You both used me. You played me for a fool, and I won't let you do it any longer." Cole, desperate to salvage anything from the wreckage, tried again. "I never meant for you to get hurt, Victoria. I never wanted it to end this way." He reached for her arm, but she jerked away violently, as though his touch was something vile. Victoria could barely bring herself to look at him. Her voice was barely a whisper as she spoke through clenched teeth. "You never cared, Cole. None of this was ever about me. It was always about you, about Claire, about your own escape. You lied to me about being sick. You lied about everything. How could you do this to me?" Her words were a punch to the gut for Cole, who had always known that his actions were wrong but had convinced himself that the end justified the means. But now, seeing Victoria's pain and hearing the absolute finality in her voice, he realized the depth of his betrayal. The woman who had loved him with everything she had, who had given him the best parts of herself, was now standing before him, broken and angry, because of him. Claire, too, was visibly shaking, her tears flowing freely now as she sank to the floor in a crumpled heap. She had hoped, at least until now, that they could somehow make things right. But with Victoria's cold rejection and the fury in her eyes, Claire knew that no words would be enough to undo the damage they had caused. Desperate, Claire reached out, grabbing Victoria's hand as she tried to leave. "Victoria, please, don't go. Please listen to me." But Victoria was beyond reasoning. She ripped her hand away, her anger rising like an uncontrollable tide. "No, Claire. You don't get to explain yourself now. You've already shown me who you really are. I won't be part of your sick game anymore." She turned sharply, her heart pounding in her chest as she stormed out of the room, leaving Cole and Claire behind. Claire's sobs echoed through the empty room, and she collapsed, her body shaking with the weight of the guilt and realization. She had been so caught up in her own desires, in her own need for power and control, that she had completely lost sight of the person she had once called a friend. Victoria, who had welcomed her into her life, into her world, Claire had betrayed her just as much as Cole had. Cole stood there, frozen, unable to move or speak. He had lost her, truly and completely. His heart twisted in agony as he realized that everything he had done had only led him to this moment, the moment when the woman he had once cared for would never look at him the same way again. The truth had come out, and there was no going back. But even in the midst of his own pain, Cole couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt for Claire, who had been left alone to face the consequences of their actions. She had clung to him, hoping for some form of salvation, but now it was clear that there would be no redemption for either of them. As Victoria's footsteps faded into the distance, Cole and Claire were left in the silence of their own lies, with no way to undo the damage they had caused. The betrayal was complete, and no matter how much they tried to explain, there was no way to erase the hurt they had inflicted on the one person who had trusted them the most. The fallout from this confrontation would echo through their lives, shaping their futures in ways they couldn't yet understand. But for now, all they could do was stand there, lost in the mess they had created, knowing that they had lost something far more valuable than they could ever replace.